Today I'm going to share the secret behind my Photocopier Machine Actions and show you the combination of filters that creates a grainy, high contrast photocopied look with various dirty toner effect options. The Photocopier Machine Actions are just one component of my CopyShop Photocopy Effects kit. It contains everything you need to recreate the gritty, lo-fi aesthetic of photocopied designs. Click the link in the description if you fancy checking it out and use the code 20OFF for 20% off. But to create the effect manually, open your chosen image and convert the layer into a smart object so the filters can be applied non-destructively and edited if necessary. First we need to desaturate the image, so go to Image Adjustments and Hue and Saturation. Reduce the saturation value to 0. The combination of filters we'll be using are in the Filter Gallery, so go to the Filter menu and choose Filter Gallery. Under the Texture category, choose Grain. Change the grain type drop down to enlarged, but stick around to see what effects the other options can achieve. You can then play with the intensity and contrast sliders to find a good result. The intensity slider determines the amount of grain, while the contrast slider affects the exposure of the image. Find a balance between a nice gritty lo-fi look and being completely blown out. Next, click the new effect icon and choose Film Grain from under the Artistic category. The grain effect alone does a good job, but the addition of film grain too gives you finer control over the result. The grain slider gives the image a kind of matte look by brightening the blacks. You want to keep this towards the lower end of the scale. The highlight area controls how blown out the image looks, while the intensity slider allows you to bring down the brightness. If you zoom in and look closely, you'll see the grain is made up of colourful dots, so we need to desaturate them. You could click and drag the filter gallery effects underneath the hue and saturation, but this affects the appearance of the effect. Instead, you can just apply another hue and saturation effect on top to preserve those settings you've just carefully configured. Let's take a look at some other settings that generate alternative effects. Remember, first convert the layer to a smart object, then desaturate with hue and saturation. Open the filter gallery, which will have the previously used effects already configured. This time change the grain type of the grain effect to horizontal instead of enlarged. This produces a low toner streaky effect. Adjust the intensity value to control the amount of streaky lines, and the contrast slider to determine how dark or bright the image should be. The film grain effects can be adjusted too to suit this new image. Here's a third image to show another combination of filters, converted to a smart object, desaturated, and filter gallery applied. The vertical grain type option applies similar streaky lines, but vertically. With this image, the highlight area and intensity sliders in the grain options help to bring back the details with a low contrast look, rather than everything being completely blown out with stark contrast. A slightly heavier dose of grain intensity adds more streaky lines for a grungier look. Let's also add some paper textures to enhance the effect. There are a few paper effect textures included in my CopyShop kit, but any old paper texture will do. Copy and paste the texture over your image. Use Command and T for transform to scale and position it into place. Then change the blending mode to multiply to allow the underlying layer to show through. The folded paper textures are a good option for images with an overall darker appearance, since the white crease lines will show up better. Set this texture to lighten instead to make the black background transparent, leaving the crease lines for an old folded poster look. The poster paper texture from my kit has a kind of rolled poster effect. Set this one to multiply and reduce the opacity to tone down its appearance. As a finishing touch, a gradient map can be used to inject some colour into the effect. Choose a dark grey to avoid the hard contrast that's generated from the default black to white gradient, but don't go too light or otherwise it'll wash out the image. The other end of the gradient is where you can get creative with colours. Something subtle like a tinge of pale yellow or green creates a cool effect. Alternatively, you could go for a brighter purple, or even an intense red. If you enjoyed this tutorial or learned any new tips and tricks, a thumbs up on the video would be really appreciated. Stick around for more of my content by subscribing to the channel, and be sure to join my mailing list at Spoon Graphics to download all my free design resources. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.